Hello and welcome. I am your host of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Author Karen E. Osborne. I have five novels out. The latest is Justice for Emerson. I am so glad that you're here. This is a space for readers and writers to come together and talk about books. It's so fun to bring back a writer that you really admire. And the last time we met, my guest today, which is Chris Bauer. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
The last time we met him, but it was only like, I don't know, 6 months ago. He was talking about the book that he's going to tell us about today. He was already teeing it up and telling us that it was coming out this year. And today is publication day of I Heard You Paint Cowboys, a Council Fungo thriller. You know he writes thrillers. I'm sure you remember that. So let's just dive in. If you might remember, just you might recall, we talked about his character Max Fend, and he had a whole series with Max Fend, and those were the books we were talking about the last time. But he kind of teed up this one, and this one reviewer said that this is gritty, clever, intelligent, and shocking. All right, Chris, you got to tell us about this. So tell us the premise. First of all, explain the name, Council Fungo. Please explain that.
Well, it's first of all, fungo, Fungo, is actually a type of baseball bat. And I love baseball. So, and secondly, because fungo is an odd name, I thought perhaps maybe people would remember the name a little bit better. So, some unique maybe usually does work out when we're trying to write some of this material. Um,
Yeah.
So, and the first name Council, it actually comes from, well, there's an Easter egg that's involved in this whole process. The council is that's her first name, of course, but it refers to the fact that there's a judicial involvement, and what it really has come
Mhm.
from is that I wrote an earlier novel. The novel is called Jane's Baby, and it's actually a Roe v. Wade novel. It's a thriller, a political thriller. But the character in that novel is a guy, and his name is Judge Drury. Now, the first name Judge and Counsel, there's a matchup there, and there's a reason for that. Although people don't know that much about the connection, but they are brother and sister, and somewhere down the road, I intend to bring them together in a novel. They both got their names because their father was a senator, and he wanted the two of them to follow in his footsteps and become lawyers. And lo and behold, they actually both became bounty hunters. So a little bit of a different approach.
Yeah. So, Father, we're going to stick it to you.
Effectively, yes,
So, tell us a little bit about this is a series, right? This is the second book in a series.
yes.
Um, I heard you paint cowboys. So give us a little sense of the series. Like, what's the first book? And just give us a little sense of it and then the premise for this book.
Well, the first book has a title that is, well, I guess, jump off the page at some people. It's called Binge Killer. Now, that's where we introduce Council Fungo, and she's chasing a she's a bounty hunter, a fugitive recovery agent, and her bounty has skipped bail. And this bounty is terminally ill. Now, what people don't know about this bounty is that he's never been caught, but he has a string of people he's killed over the years. He's an older guy, and a string of people he's killed over the years. He's always gotten away with it. And now that he's terminally ill, he decides he wants to go out with a blaze of glory, and he has discovered via a Parade magazine article about a town in America, in upstate Poconos, upstate Pennsylvania, that is considered the safest town in the country. And he decides, you know what? I'm I'm terminal. Uh, I'm going to make. I'm going to go out, like I said, in a blaze of glory. I'm going to make a name for myself in this town that has had no other reported major crimes in the past 50 years, and that's the reason why Parade picked up the story. Of course, I this is this is me being creative, um,
Yes, yes.
and little do either of them know the bad guy or counsel is that there's a reason why there have been no reported crimes in this town in the past 50 years. And
Mm,
both of these two people, the bounty and the bounty hunter, find out what happens, why it has been this way when the conflict takes place inside the inside the town. That's the first
wow.
novel. That
Tell us the
novel
name of that one again. Tell us
it's
the name
called
of that one.
Binge Killer.
Binge Killer. All right.
It's gritty again, like we're talking about here. It is violent. There's probably a lot more profanity in it than certainly more than the novel that's coming out now. I Heard You Paint Cowboys. I backed off the profanity in that because I heard some things going the other way with respect to profanity. So, and I Heard You Paint Cowboys. That it's based on. Let me just check something here as I was going through my notes because I want to make sure I.
Sure.
Um, yeah, okay. This is the tagline I've got out there. I Heard You Paint Cowboys is part art heist, part con, part assassination thriller. But it's majorly anti-U.S. gun lobby and it's majorly anti-civilian ownership of assault-style weapons. So Council
Mm,
has this real bugaboo, even though she's a bounty hunter and she needs weapons to do her job. She cannot stand the fact that civilians can have assault style weapons in their possession. And she is looking to do what she can to kneecap through her processes, which will become available or understandable in the novel, kneecap gun rights organizations. And so what happens? We go through the process. Is uh, she she uh, she's doing her best to wrap her arms around what she needs to do to get at these people, and she runs across a bounty who happens to know the person who is the head of a very prominent gun rights organization, but this person has an affinity for stolen art, and that puts us into the novel because if she realized I can get back, maybe get at this guy, maybe we can do some things there. Um, the other thing about the novel was I was very fortunate. It earned a contest win. Let me see if I get the name of it right. I'm going to drop the plug in here. The best first sentence contest in the award in the 2024 International Thriller Writers Thriller Fest Masterclass contest. So what that translates to is that the first sentence somebody loved, and that's all that had to happen in the contest. They like They like the first sentence. You get the award is what it, and there were a lot of people, of course, submitted. It's the International
mhm.
Thriller Writers. It's a huge organization. I was really very happy that somebody selected it.
Yeah,
Um,
congratulations.
so that was nice. We talk about that. Let me see what else the art and the cowboy angles work because a part of the plot keys on a real life painting by N.C. Wyeth titled Wild Bill Hickok at Cards. Now, Bill Hickok was a cowboy in the 19th century. A lot of people will remember him. I remember him as a kid because there was a television show in the 50s and 60s that was based on him. He was a gunslinger who became a lawman. But
Hmm.
N.C. Wyeth, the American painter of the Wyeth family, had painted this $2.2 million painting that eventually in this novel is stolen, and that's what's used as the bait for trying to pull in my antagonist.
Gotcha, gotcha. I love heist stories. So this is part heist story and part assassination.
Yeah, there's a marginalized character in here who has spent unfortunately has spent 30 years in prison for murders that he didn't commit. And
Mm.
he's sprung, and the really unfortunate part of it is that most of that time was spent in solitary.
Oh
So
my gosh.
when you spend that much time in solitary, you're not coming out the same way you went in. So he has an axe to grind, and he's out. And but the other thing about him is that as a felon, he can't own a gun, um,
Right.
but he can build one. So we'll
Mm.
talk about that later.
Okay, all right. So this is the second book of a series. Is there going to be a third one?
Uh, I don't have anything on the drawing board just yet at this point.
Okay.
I love this character. The potential third book could be one where I'm bringing her together with her brother because they're both
Mm.
bounty hunters. I just haven't found the right pace to put them on. So that may be next up in terms of this series. But I don't have that
Cool.
as an image.
People love that. People love series, as you know, people love series. So one of the things that you said that cracked me up in your bio was, on your webpage, is all the things you're not expert at. You talk about I'm not a this, I'm not a that. You have to look at us though, Chris. We can't see you.
Oh, I'm
You're
sorry.
looking down. We want to see your face.
Sorry. I'm up.
So so that you have all these things that you're not. So that means that you have to do a lot of research. So tell us a little bit about your research. How do you go about it?
Um, I so first of all, I there's this thing called the internet, um, and thank goodness it's out there, and we can Google whatever we want. So if I'm coming up with a storyline that will necessitate me learning something that I don't know anything about, and I know what's in that storyline, I'll first go at that on the internet. I'm not. I'll pull down what I can. Not everything you read is as accurate, of course, but I take
Mm-hmm.
my best shot at it. And on top of that, if I can occasionally find a subject matter expert where I can talk to directly or indirectly online, and I've run across a few different folks I've been able to have relationships with at conferences. That's worked out
Mm.
well. So especially when you're dealing with crime or whatever, there are plenty of writers out there who have law enforcement backgrounds, and so that has been helpful. It's the one thing about the writing community. People are really willing to share. So that has helped. So I'm doing my best. Do I always get it right? I don't know. I like to believe if people are finding things that are wrong, they're either if they want to tell me about it, that's great. If they want to keep it to themselves, that could happen too. I've only been I can't remember what novel was in, but I've only been corrected once in what I've been putting out there. So that's I've been fortunate that way. There may be plenty of things that aren't right. I'd like to believe that's not true, but they haven't found their way back to me yet.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were doing your research for I heard you paint cowboys, did anything interesting, something that intrigued you or surprised you or
Yeah, there were some really cool things I ran across. First of all, um, in writing about art theft and art fakes, um, the first painting that's going to come to mind for people is going to be the Mona Lisa.
Mm,
And there's a tremendous story, true story about back in 1911, the Mona Lisa was a product of a theft. It was stolen from the Louvre. So I researched that. I thought that was really interesting. But I did find out that there was some controversy and some conspiracy theories that were going on about
mm,
it. And I ran one down that was published in 1932 in the Saturday Evening Post that I thought was very interesting. And I pulled some information from it that has never been proven or disproven. So it helped me with part of this plot. That was something I thought was just really, really, really cool. And the other thing I did learn was, among other things, um, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of these items called ghost guns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, you have. Now, and that's where my marginalized character, my felon, comes in. He can't own a gun, but he can build one. And ghost guns are unfortunately prolific out there. They're all unregistered. They're not serial numbers on them because they're made from different parts, and people can buy the parts separately, and put them together. And it's frightening because of that. Now, the thing about ghost guns is that there are plans online where you can build these things, but the government came back and slammed some people for having put them out there because they have to include a way to put metal in the gun, because so people can use plastic. You can get a 3D printer and
Right,
print all of these
right.
pieces, and some of them are strong enough to be able to withstand you shooting bullets through them. But the plans themselves have to include a place where metal is used for detectability. So that's why the plans are available online. As long as people are putting the metal in the guns, the hassle is that you can build the guns without having the metal in them. Uh,
Mm.
and that's one of the problems with these guns. If you could get away with building a gun that has absolutely zero metal in it, which means that it is not going to be detectable in a metal detecting machine.
Yeah, wow,
So
that's so
I found that was
scary, right?
yeah.
That's a scary, scary thing. So tell us, you said that you might write another piece to this current series, but are you working on something right now?
I am. It's I mean, it's just disparate. We kind of sometimes go all over the place in what we want to write about.
Yes.
I I'm writing a post World War II novel about occupied Japan, and it's has to do with a uh, two pilots, two air pilot, United States Navy pilots, don't know each other before the novel starts, but one of them is located in the Pacific Theater. He flies PBYs at the end of the war. That's a type of plane, and but he has unfortunately been um, uh, uh, gotten hurt. Excuse me, hurt, and he suffered. He ended up being in a POW camp, and
Mm,
was actually liberated at the end of the war. And he has continued to stay on. He's not ready to go home yet because he just has got too much PTSD. So he's accepted a new position up in the Office of Naval Intelligence uh, group in Japan. And this is right after the bombs have been dropped. And we're going to see him in operation in and around Hiroshima, while he not only does work for the Office of Naval Intelligence, but he's also doing law enforcement. Now the
mm.
and that's where the novel is really more of a story about uh, being a detective, and law enforcement, and murders, and trying to track down rapists. There was a real problem after World War II in Japan because of just way too many allies were much too frisky with the Japanese population. So he's helping with that, and we're struggling through that. I'm only about 30 or 40 pages into it. I have a majority of the story in my head, but I don't have all of it. And without knowing exactly where I want to go, it's taking me a little bit longer to kind of get off the dime and really get into it. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that sounds exciting though. Is this your first historical? Will this be your first historical? Oh,
it would be, yeah,
wow,
yes.
that's
Now,
cool. I love
one
trying new things too.
one thing I did work with is that my father being a pilot, I have his aviation diaries from when he was a smart guy, and they put him in the into pilot school. I forget the right term for it, but I have all his aviation diaries. And unfortunately for me, there's nothing that is really interesting in those diaries other than the fact that he learned how to fly planes and who his passengers were and where he was. So we have to make it all up. Um, that's where we're going with that.
Fun though. The making is so much fun. That's the
Exactly.
best part about being a writer. You could just somebody asked me, and they said, why don't you write a memoir? Or and I said, because I like making stuff up. In a memoir, you got to be like true to what actually happened. So the last time you were with us, you talked about how much you admired the Stephanie Plum series. And that was one of the authors that you oh, I'm blanking on her name. The
At the
Stephanie,
step,
the author,
oh goodness, why can't I remember?
Ivana Ivanovich.
Yeah, Janet Ivanovich.
Thank you. Yes. So that's who you mentioned the last time. Is there someone else that you could recommend to our audience today?
Well, I've run it. Well, I'll give you definitely plenty of names. Robert Dugoni. I'm not
I
sure if you
love
know.
him.
I don't have to say much about him. He's prolific. He's big time into the international thriller writers. An officer for them. He's got millions and millions and millions of novels in print. He writes series. He writes standalones. I no, I excuse me. I do like him. There's another author who is local. Actually, I have a couple of local Philly authors I really like. One who you read that quote from at the beginning of it, that's associated with the book. Her name is Lisa Reagan, and
Mm.
she is again very prolific. Um, I can aspire to being able to get the type of audiences that she pulls in. She has a series called Josie Quinn. There's probably about 20 to 25 books in that series. It's a
Mm.
detective series. It's very successful. Very happy to see that. Another fellow who's I've known him for a long time, and he's I think he's going to do some significant damage with the next book that's coming out. His name is John McGoran, McGoran, and I just read an arc of his called "The Price of Everything," and it's a techno thriller set in the near future. He writes things that are seem like they're close to real, close to happen, but they're not quite. And this is just an outstanding, unique book. I won't go into it. It has to do with couriers and the fact that they're in the near future, credit is no good, but cash is, and cash is what drives the entire world. And he's a courier, and his character carries cash. It's just an outstanding circumstance.
Wow.
I have a number of authors I've read recently who are Black Rose writing authors. Torrance. Uh,
Cam is wonderful. He's been on the show. His new book came out in February, and his episode was posted for his latest book. Yeah, Cam is great. Yeah.
Uh, and there's also Gary Gerlacher, who is and he's definitely a subject matter expert about his books. I believe Gary's was a physician or still is a physician, so he's doing very well. Um, so these are
It's a
people I'm
great
having fun
list.
with. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great list. Thank you so much. And I thank all of you for watching. Chris, how can people find out more about you? What's your website? How are you on social media? Of course, you can find his books any place that you buy or borrow books. You can find Chris's books, but how can they find out more personally about you?
My website is all one word, chrisbauerauthor.net. And spelling of my last name is Bauer, chrisbauerauthor.net. I'm on Facebook. I'm still on Twitter. Haven't gotten away from Twitter yet. I'm delinquent at this point. I am on Blue Sky, which is another social media environment which I really like. Uh, who else am I on? I'm on Instagram. Did I miss any one of them? I don't know. I might have another one. It's in here.
That's pretty good. But if it goes to
That's
your website, they can find out all of
it's all there. It's all there. The
it's
connections are all
all
there.
there. So it's say your website again. It's Chris Bauer, author
Author.net.
dot net. So when you guys go on Chris's website, please, and you contact him, tell everybody and Chris that you met him on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Until next week, everybody, thanks so much for watching. And thanks, Chris, for being with us again. Bye,
Very
everybody.
gracious. Very gracious, Karen. Thank you.
Bye bye.